Let's cut the bullshit. If you've stayed too long with a narcissist, if you found yourself making excuses for their cruelty, or you felt like you were constantly cleaning up their emotional mess, you are not alone. And more than that, you became their unwilling co-conspirator. But here's the truth nobody is going to tell you. It wasn't because you were weak or broken. It was because your empathy was hijacked and weaponized against you, and your nervous system got trapped in a survival cycle you didn't know how to escape. I am Megan Webster, an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, and today we are diving deep on how your empathy got you hooked on narcissistic abuse, how you became an emotional co-conspirator, and most importantly, how you can weaponize that empathy for your own freedom. The reason why I share so many stories with you on here and on my TikTok is so that if you are experiencing narcissism or abuse, or you have question marks around it in your own life, you can start to see it and understand it. And if you are someone who is empathetic, or you've been told that you carry high empathy, this episode is going to be an awakening for you. I can still remember a night when my ex-husband absolutely lost it in public. He was snapping at the waitress, belittling me loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, and you want to know what I did? I laughed it off. I smiled at the waitress, I smoothed it over, I cracked jokes, and I made sure that everybody around us thought, oh, they're fine. This is what empathy does when it's hijacked. It makes you the protector of the person who's actually destroying you. You cover up for them. You keep the reputation intact while your own dignity is bleeding behind closed doors. I became his spokesperson, his PR team, his crisis manager, all because I couldn't stand the thought of anybody else seeing him the way that I did secretly because I was embarrassed. That is how empathy hooks you. You start carrying their shame as if it's your responsibility. And before you know it, you're not just trapped in abuse, you're helping hide it from the world. So let's talk about how your nervous system got hijacked in the first place. This is really the biology of empathy and abuse. This is not bullshit. This is science-backed research on how empathy becomes a trap. Your nervous system mirrors what it senses. When you see someone in distress, your brain fires as if it's your own pain. That is empathy in action. But in abuse, your nervous system gets stuck in survival mode. It's the roller coaster of the highs and lows, the love bombing, the cold silences, rage, affection. It floods your brain with dopamine and cortisol, rewiring your body to crave the chaos. And your body becomes addicted to that emotional whiplash. It is not love. That is a trauma bond at its rawest form. So you don't just feel empathy. Your nervous system desperately tries to regulate the chaos because it believes your survival depends on it. So you start living on edge, your heart racing, your stomach churning, you're hypervigilant, and you are exhausted beyond belief. You confuse their emotional explosions for passion. You think that their cruelty is justified because you feel their pain so fucking deeply. You are not broken. You are neurologically trapped. Here's the wild thing. Your mirror neurons, there's these little cells in your brain that are responsible for empathy, and they don't distinguish your pain from theirs. They just reflect. It's like an unfiltered emotional sponge. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands and the bottom is wide open. That is your nervous system constantly being flooded with somebody else's trauma and chaos. Now, layer on top your own trauma, your own history. Maybe it is childhood wounds, neglect, or previous toxic relationships. Your nervous system is primed to respond like this is life and death because maybe at one point it actually was. Maybe that time is now. This survival system rewires itself on a molecular level. The part of your brain that controls stress gets permanently dialed into a red alert, releasing cortisol every time you feel abandoned, ignored, or threatened, even if it's just a text left on read. But then you get a dopamine hit when they suddenly switch back to the charm. That is your body rewarding a roller coaster ride of hope and despair. You feel like an emotional junkie chasing the highs in a toxic relationship. And the constant state of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses are your nervous system in a war zone, exhausted but wired, desperate for relief but only finding it in the arms of your abuser. Most people do not realize that this is because their brain wants to make sense of the chaos with logic and reason. But trauma lives below cognition. It's in your gut, it's in your heart, it's in your cells, and it silently controls how you feel, how you think, and how you behave. And because this happens below conscious awareness, you keep getting sucked back in. You believe the illusion that if you just love harder, if you try harder, if you're more empathetic, You can fix this. But the truth is, your nervous system is addicted to a chemical cocktail that will never let you win until you detox on a deep somatic level. So how did this happen? How did you become the unwilling emotional co-conspirator? Here is a brutal truth. Your empathy enabled the abuse. Not because you wanted it to, but because your nervous system was desperate for safety, even if that meant being in the fire. You became the narrator, the excuse maker, the therapist, the damage control. All of these roles were not yours to play, but you got trained to perform. You found yourself gaslighting your own reality to maintain the illusion of peace. And this is why survivors of abuse say, I stayed too long. You did not stay for love. This is self-betrayal wrapped in hope. But you stayed because your empathy was weaponized against you, which turned you into a co-conspirator in your own pain. You told yourself lies. If I'm patient enough, he'll change. If I'm gentle enough, he won't get angry. If I'm quiet enough, it won't affect him. If I'm strong enough, I can save us. But what you were really doing was survival in the most toxic form possible. Being a co-conspirator to narcissistic abuse doesn't mean you signed up for it. It means you were forced into that role by a system designed to trap you. From the outside, your defenses look like loyalty, patience, and strength. But inside, you were constantly negotiating peace treaties like a ticking time bomb. Your empathy got hijacked before you probably even knew what love was supposed to feel like. It was rewired by a programming of your family system, childhood, cultural conditioning where women are supposed to be caretakers, expected to absorb pain, smooth edges, and stay silent. You didn't just excuse their behavior. You internalized their blame, shame, and gaslighting until you believed that you were the problem. This is the dirty little secret of narcissistic abuse. Empathy becomes a weaponized liability. You become the keeper of the narrative, constantly repairing, explaining, justifying, and rationalizing while covering up to protect yourself from further harm. But the reality is, you are trapping yourself deeper into the abuse. It's the ultimate paradox. You are simultaneously the victim and the unwilling accomplice, desperately trying to hold it together for a story that's already fallen apart. The tragedy is, this role is not permanent. You are currently in a cage with a key, and you can unlock that door. There is a heavy cost long-term being a co-conspirator. Every moment that you defend the narcissist behavior, you chip away at your own self-respect. You sacrificed your boundaries. You've lost your voice. You become isolated because outsiders that care about you do not understand why you defend him. You are caught in the empathy trap where this feels like a jail cell for your heart and your nervous system. And it's not just emotional exhaustion. It's trauma that digs into your cells. That chronic pain, the insomnia, the gut issues, the anxiety, all are physical fallout of the weight of somebody else's cruelty. You've become a ghost in your own life, constantly dampening your own needs to keep the peace. What does it actually mean to be a co-conspirator in this? It is not just emotional wear and tear. It is a full systematic shutdown. Your endocrine system is out of whack. Your immune system is compromised. You wake up every single morning carrying invisible bruises from invisible battles. You have become a stranger to your own body, trapped in a loop where exhaustion becomes your baseline and joy feels like an alien. Because your nervous system is on high alert constantly. It sacrifices the ability to repair and regenerate. Your brain fog is relentless and your ability to focus is shattered. The physical symptoms, guys, are not in your head. It is a manifestation of physical trauma in your body that's being forced to survive without safety or rest. You may have noticed things like weight loss or weight gain, unexplained chronic illnesses, or constant migraines. None of this is a coincidence. It is your body screaming for help while you are keeping up with appearances. And the isolation you feel, that is not just social. That is spiritual and cellular. Your connection to yourself is frayed down in the chaos of defending another one's brokenness. So how do we stop this from happening? How do we break you free and allow you to weaponize your empathy for your own freedom? Empathy itself is not the problem. But unfiltered empathy, that is the weapon that the narcissist will use. Now, disciplined empathy, that will be your greatest weapon. Here's how you're going to be able to reclaim your empathy and turn it into a tool for yourself to break free from abuse. Your energy is the most important thing that you own. Own it fully, protect it at all costs, and you get to decide who gets your emotional bandwidth. Set clear, unbreakable boundaries. No more bending over backwards to fix the narcissist emotions. Practicing radical emotional containment. Learn how to hold space and safety for your feelings first and foremost, not theirs. Speak your truth loudly, unapologetically, and safely. You do not owe anybody a justification, a rationalization for how you feel. And you can use your empathy as a radar. Please feel those shifts, but protect your nervous system. Regulating your nervous system daily has to become your new standard, because this resets your internal state so you do not get pulled back into this. Breath work, movement, grounding, it is all important. In last week's episode, I had shared more of my story with you on how to become a narcissist's worst nightmare, and there's a piece in there that I want to share again from a different lens. I will never forget the day that I signed my first 4-figure painful client as a business coach. I wanted to scream, I wanted to celebrate, and I wanted to tell the man who promised to be my life partner, look what I did, look what we can build together. But when I ran upstairs to share it, he didn't look up from his phone. He was like, oh, okay, cute. And he made me feel really small, like my win wasn't important, like it didn't matter. And that was the moment that I realized my emotions, my business, my joy was not safe with him. My empathy automatically wanted to shrink, to soften the blow, to comfort his ego, to make him feel less threatened by my power. That's what empathy does when it's hijacked by abuse. It turns you into an abuser's caretaker instead of your own champion. But here's what changed everything. I stopped giving him access to me. My celebrations, my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings. I kept building. I kept winning. I celebrated with myself, with my team, with my clients, with my own business coach, with strangers on the internet who actually saw me for me. And that's when my empathy shifted from being on a leash that he held to a shield that I held. I stopped pouring my energy into patching up his insecurity, and I started investing it in my own growth. That was the crack in the system. That was where I became dangerous to him. This is not soft, it's badass. And it's exactly the work we do inside of the RRR membership, where you stop surviving and you get to start thriving fiercely and unapologetically as yourself. Empathy is a skill, not a sacrifice. It's about learning to filter who you allow your energy to serve. It's about developing that shield for yourself between your soul and the chaos that used to drown you. And you will need to become your own emotional CEO, deciding what to invest in, what to walk away from, and when to shut the door for good. This also means practicing no with steel in your voice, walking away without guilt from emotional vampires disguised as partners. You need to use your empathy strategically to spot the bullshit early on, to read the red flags, and to catch the manipulations before they stick. But most of all, it means you're showing up for yourself. Healing isn't about being soft. It's about being ruthless with anyone and anything that doesn't serve your survival or your growth. If this episode hit something in you good, that means you are waking up. Inside of the Reinvent, Rebuild, and Redeem membership is where we do the real work. Yes, I love the fact that you save this podcast, but this is just the surface. This is really a trauma bond detox, a nervous system reset, live coaching from me. So when your brain is spinning out and your heart is breaking, you have someone that's going to have your back and love and support you where you are at right now in your journey. This is where you get to stop surviving and start fighting back to be the fiercest version of yourself. Share this with another woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe, leave a review, send me a DM on Instagram and tell me what landed. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, and your comeback starts with owning your empathy, not as a liability, but as your ultimate weapon.